Doug, we're staying in Florida. Doug, you're up.
Yeah, what a great exchange. Thank you, Scott. LGO, your energy is just phenomenal. And I am a proud freak flag waver. That's for sure. Amen. Amen. I read a Q&A with you in Forbes that resonated with me a little bit. And I'm going to ask you a question if you can elaborate on it, which you were making a linkage between age and successful entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, to the degree of like self-awareness, where that might factor into what your thoughts are on that topic, please.
Oh, absolutely. I was on Good Morning America in January talking with Robin Roberts about midlife career changes. And one of the things that I mentioned there also was that we think that the next big entrepreneur is going to come out of like their garage or their dorm room at Harvard, right? It's going to be somebody who's dropping out and they're young. But it turns out that studies show that the most successful entrepreneurs are people that are in midlife, in their 40s or beyond. So why is this? For some of them, it's because they have a little savings and they can self-fund a little bit. For some of them, it's because they can take a little time and pursue this as a sort of side quest, as a side hustle, before they go out and really, you know, commit to it full time, so they can spend a little bit more time on the sort of funding or the research and development. But really, by the time we get to our 40s and even into our late 30s, we have a pretty good sense of what we do well and what we don't do well. So entrepreneurs in midlife know who to surround themselves with to bring out their best. Like when I started my last company, I can't tell you how many sleepless nights doing my invoices at 2 a.m. Now, as you've noticed, I'm an author and a speaker, so I make my living with words. I don't make my living with numbers. So I would do those invoices at 2 a.m. because they were the very last thing I was doing. And I'll tell you something, Doug, they were mostly wrong. So I would get calls from my clients that were like, yeah, we got your invoice and we're confused about this number. And by the way, referring back to what I said earlier, if you're in the business of selling trust and you're sending your clients invoices that are wrong, then they start to wonder, well, if she got this wrong, what else is she getting wrong? And one day my husband walked in, it was like 3 a.m. He's like, basically, I'm just going to curse him. He goes, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, you don't do math. You're not good at it. How much would it cost you to have somebody do those invoices? And I was like, I don't know, $40 an hour, $60 an hour. I don't know, $80 an hour. And he's like, what are you charging your clients? And I was like, $250 an hour. And he was like, let me do the most simple arithmetic ever. He goes, it's not even math, it's arithmetic. And so that was the moment where I was like, okay, I need to surround myself with people who do smarter things. So if you're an entrepreneur and you know your highest and best use of your time is to go out and be selling, you know, new clients or raising investment income or building a prototype, then you're not doing all the rest of the stuff that's, you know, as we talked about with Scott earlier, exhausting you. So so that's the first thing. And then the second thing, it also has to do with understanding that failure is not finale, it's fulcrum. Because by the time you get to middle age, you failed a lot of times and you've survived all of them. So you know that you'll be able to get through it and you can take it as growth. This is the last thing I'll say is something else I talk about in Wonderhell is this idea of perfection. We think that, you know, we're going to get there, we're going to be perfect, we'll be successful, it'll be terrific. But we're not, right? There's no such thing as perfection. It's a sort of asymptotic curve where you never quite get all the way. You're like half the distance to the goal every single time. It turns out that there's 3 types of perfection. There's self-focused perfection, there's other-focused perfection, and there's sort of socially prescribed perfection. Socially prescribed is obviously social media and what everyone else in the outside world thinks we should do. Other focused perfection is when we're like needling and micromanaging other people to be successful. So these first 2 are terrible, right? They're terrible. They lead to strained relationships. They lead to unhappy people all around us. But more than half of us fall into that type of perfectionism. Then there's the self-inflicted perfectionism. And, you know, Joe will relate to this as an athlete, right? Those are the intrinsically motivated people. These are the ones who expect more of themselves and want to keep getting better and better and better. And one of the people I interviewed in the book, Jonathan Fields, who's an author and a very successful podcaster, he said when he was younger, when he was an artist, if he did a painting and it didn't look exactly like what he had in his brain, he would just tear the thing apart. But he had this expectation that it would be better than his level of skill really had any right to be. Like, he had no right to think that he could be that good, but he would still get so angry with himself. And then over time, he just put out a new book and he said, you know, what I'm most proud about this book is that in chapter 4, you know, the third paragraph is a paragraph I couldn't have written 10 years ago. I wasn't able to write a paragraph like that 10 years ago. And now every time I see somebody doing something that I can't do yet, I think, isn't it amazing that I have the opportunity to spend the next 10 years getting even better and better and better at that thing. And so when we're in middle age, we have more of this sort of wisdom, and even though we're hungrier, we also have patience, knowing that it will come in time and that it's a process, and we have more discipline around creating the habits that get us to the end goal.